Hi, everybody. We're getting ready to jump into our Women Leaders of Love Own Your Worth Wednesdays. We're getting set up on Facebook and letting people drip into our Zoom room. And I'm so glad you guys are here. Let me see if let everybody come in. Hi, Diana, Stacy, Maria, Sydney, welcome. We've got a whole slew of people popping in right now. And for all of you Facebook friends, thank you for being here. If you ever want to get in on the Zoom call, because you're going to see as we keep going today that you can ask questions on the Zoom call. On the Facebook, you can just watch. And then if you have a question afterwards, I will go in and answer anything I can. But if you want to be on the Zoom call and you don't have the link in your inbox, you can go to terribritt.com/leaders and get my worthiness quotient breakthrough bundle. And that will give you the link for next week. So I am excited to get started today. Let me start the recording. Where is here? Okie dokie. I see so many people showing up today. Hi, Holly. Welcome. Jorun. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm trying to just say hi to everybody. I love when we get people from all over the world popping in. So thank you for being here. This is our Women Leaders of Love Own Your Worth Wednesdays. Now, I sit in meditation every time I do one of these calls and ask what's the topic of the day. And today it is about forgiveness, about self-forgiveness. Now, this is why this was triggered. I went to the gym this morning. I go at 7:15 a.m. and I do a semi-private. There's 4 of us in there. And then after that is a group of women that comes in, and it's usually about 8 or 9 people. Well, no one showed up today. Now, granted, our main trainer and the owner of the gym is on vacation. So, and I understand if people want to do their own thing. And I did see a few people walking around a track, so they might have been there. But it made me think about when my kids were in school, and this is the beginning of the school year here in the United States, right? And it's crazy. You're so caught up in getting things done. And it reminded me of a story. And I actually wrote about this in my book, The Enlightened Mom, that when my kids were in school and it was racing every morning to get them there, especially at the beginning of the school year, I find myself like this. I mean, just like shaking. Do you ever feel that way? Like you feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry. So of course, this was really early on in my journey. So I started looking at it, and what I realized is that I was performing for my teacher's love. Right? I wanted them to approve of me. I didn't feel real connected at home. So for me, my teachers were a way that I got approval. Well, with my children, I was projecting that onto them, like, oh, you have to be on time. You can't be tardy. You can't be seen as bad. And as soon as I realized that that was my own pain and suffering, I understood that I no longer needed to project that onto my kids. So when I'm looking at this and I feel there's this gearing up right now, summer is almost over, right? And we find ourselves, without even realizing it, a lot of times that we're getting back into that school mindset or getting back into that racing mindset. Can anybody relate? Does anybody feel like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this gearing up. And what that tells me is that there's a sense of lack of forgiveness, that we've set some standard in our minds about how we should be, like trying to not be tardy and trying to win the teacher's approval, but we're trying to meet some standard in our minds of how we think we should be. And it always goes back to we're performing, because when you're in a joyful state is when you're in alignment, when you're being slow, when you're being present, when you're really being in the moment, right? But when we start projecting out about what needs to be done, we separate from that. And it often goes back to our childhoods. It often goes back to that training that we got in school about race, don't be late, don't be tardy, make sure you do everything okay. And I'm going to ask everyone, if your mics are not muted, I'm going to just mute you because I'm hearing a little bit of noise. Okay, I think everybody's muted now. Cool. So that's what we're going to be diving into today, to look at what is the programming that says that you have to race, that you have to push, you have to shove, that you can't be tardy, whatever that is, right? We're going to look at that because as women leaders of love, as we own our worth, our greatest act of service is when we're in a state of peace and balance. And yes, we're human, right? We're going to go and have those moments when we're not, but we always want to come back to center. It is the programming and the lack of forgiveness in ourselves that keeps us on that push, that shove, that racing ahead. I know for me, as I said, when I looked at it with my kids way back when, it really had to do with there was this sense that I wasn't lovable and I wasn't feeling that connection at home. So the teachers were giving me that connection. I was always a teacher's pet. So I performed for the teachers. And of course, being late was not a good thing because that's nothing worse, right, than getting a teacher upset because you're walking in late, you're not respecting them. So for me, when I gave myself permission to say, no, wait, it's okay. It is okay for me not to race. It is okay for me to take my time. It is okay for me to love myself. It was huge. It was like this sense of peace and freedom. There's another story that I remember, and I actually write about this in my book, Message Sent, where I was watching Colby, my youngest. We were in Sedona. She was little. She was probably 7 years old. We went in to go to the bathroom and wash her hands. And she's sitting there with her hands under the water and she's just playing like this. And I'm, of course, going, come on, let's go. We got to hurry. We got to hurry. But watching her, I was present enough that I was watching her. And I said, wait, she knows something that I need to see. She's showing me something that I need to be okay with. So I watched her even more and saw how present she was and how joyful she was in watching the water stream over her hands. So that was another gift in seeing that when we're not racing, when we're not in that push mode, that we can be childlike with wonder, right? We can be that innocent child again and just seeing the beauty in everything. That, I believe, is where I found my greatest peace, is being able to slow down, not worrying about if I'm tardy, not keeping up with the Joneses. I know when I got sick with my Chiari back in 2011, this is like a life lesson for me, as you can tell. When I got really sick, I kept being flattened on my back and my speaking career was taking off, and all of a sudden everything was having to be set down. In my mind, as I looked at it and went deeper, it was that sense of I had to race and keep up. I had to compete. I had to stay up with everyone else. I had to let it go. I had to completely let it go and say, no, this is where I am right now. And I'm so grateful that I did, because once again, I got off of that hamster wheel and I forgave myself of the standard that I thought I should be at, and instead allowed myself to be in my humanness and accept where I am right now. So this is where we're going. We're going to dive into a meditation on this and really help you see what is the programming you bought into. Hopefully one of these stories is bringing up some kind of memory for you where you're recognizing, wow, I do that. And maybe it's not right now. Maybe I'm noticing it right now because, especially like in our home, our coffee company, we're in the mountains of Georgia, we're coming into season, okay? So it feels like the school year is coming into season in a way. So I feel my husband gearing up a lot, and I have to pull myself back to center. I have to say, wait, no, that's his story. It's not my story, that's his story. And that's another thing, right? Is going, that's their story, that's not my story. So I know that I'm being the grounding for our family when I come back to center and remind him that it's okay, he can come back to center. So this is the gift of when we get off of that hamster wheel, when we forgive ourselves and we let go of some standard that's in our mind, we become that example as women leaders of love. We're owning our worth, and then we're giving other people that little seed that says, wow, maybe I can do the same. Maybe I can slow down and do the same. So let's do this. Let's dive into this meditation, and then we're going to open up to some questions for any of you on Zoom who want to raise your hands afterwards. We're going to let you open up and ask questions so that we can really dive in and have some laser coaching, some intuitive readings, and some healing here. I want to invite you to just close your eyes and take a deep breath and hold it, and then release very slowly. Let's do that again. Take another deep breath. Hold it, and then release very slowly. Feeling yourself relaxing, feeling the muscles in your shoulders relaxing, the muscles in your neck, the muscles in your back, in your hips and your knees and your feet. Everything is relaxing. Now visualizing the crown of your head opening up and inviting the light of love in, the light of God, whatever you want to call it, light of source. Allow that light to flood in. And let's bring in the energy of forgiveness, of self-forgiveness. Bringing it in, letting it come in through your face and into your shoulders. Breathing into this. Allowing that light now to move down your arms and out your hands, because when you go into forgiveness, you let go of controls. So imagine your hands are just opening up and releasing. And breathing in. Now come back to the shoulders and let that light move into your chest. And here is so often where we hold a lot of the energy of judgment on ourselves. So imagine that energy releasing. It's breaking up. Bringing that light now down into your ribs. Breathing into this. And into your belly. All the way down into your hips. Moving that light down your legs. Bringing in the energy of forgiveness right now. Into your ankles and your feet. And letting everything flood out of the balls of your feet. So we've got energy flooding out of your hands and the balls of your feet so that you are releasing energy that you are ready to let go of right now. Completely saying, yes, I'm taking a stand for forgiveness. Now let that light flood all the way into your auric field around you, really stretching it out beyond your fingertips, on either side of you, in front of you, and behind you. We're getting grounded, really getting centered. We're putting ourselves into a higher vibration right now so that we can receive messages. Breathing into this. And then let everything dump, washing your aura, washing the outside so that any energy that's stuck moves now down to the bottom, below your feet, and dumps down a beautiful column of light. Breathing into this. Now, as you sit in this space of connectedness and receptivity, I want you to let any feelings come up after the conversation we just had about things that make you feel like you need to race. I want you to invite right now this sense of, what is the standard that I've set for myself that is not my truth? What is the standard? Have you bought into a societal standard? Have you got to keep up with the Joneses? And forgive me if there's any Joneses here, but you got to keep up with the other person. Is there a sense that you're still racing because you might be tardy at school, or you might need to catch up with everyone else? What's coming up for you? Breathing into this. What is the standard you've created for yourself that is not your truth? And if you're not sure right now and you feel like you're grasping, just know that if you're racing in any way, that that's not the truth. If you're feeling stressed, that's not the truth. So you can, another way of doing this is to visualize the little kid inside of you and say, what is hurting? What is the belief that you bought into? And see what she says. Breathing into this. Get stuck. Visualize, open up your crown again. Take a breath. Surrender. What is the standard you've set in your mind that is creating havoc in your life and causing you to race? And you can even ask, where did I take this from? Is this societal thing that I learned? Is it something that I watched from my parents? It's not important to know, but I always find it interesting to have an understanding. So where did you take this belief on? And you can ask too, what is this specific belief? Is it that if I don't race, I'll get punished? If I don't race, I'll lose? If I don't race, I'll lose someone's love? What is the belief? Now, see how that belief has been affecting your life. See all the different areas. Does it make you feel like you get up in the morning and you're nervous? It causes anxiety. Do you find yourself putting the standard on yourself and then you project it onto other people? Maybe your partner, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, that you're projecting that they should perform to the standard. Does it make you feel as if you're never going to catch up? I want you to just really see how this belief is playing havoc. And now let's visualize a big giant rose as we always do, with the idea that the head of the rose is like a vacuum. And let's put that belief in the head of the rose. Let's put all the pictures that were coming up in your mind and the feelings and the thoughts and the memories of how this is affecting your life now, how it's affected your life in the past. Breathe into this, put everything in that rose. Ask any energy that it's stuck in your body. You can even scan your body and feel, where am I holding this old energy? We want to really move it out of your physical being. So, is that racing sense in your hips? Maybe you feel some pain in your hips. And this is resistance because you're saying, I don't want to race, but your mind is telling you, I need to race. Check in with your body and see where that energy sits. And when you find it, you can bring that rose in and literally put it on that spot in your body and pull the energy out. Just say, I give myself permission to release this resistance. Breathing into this. Let's take that rose and send it out into the universe and blow it up like confetti. We're sending it back with love. And now we're going to check in with, if we break this cycle Okay. If we say no more, no more, who are we concerned that it's going to affect in the negative? So if you're not racing, are you afraid it's going to affect your partner or your kids? Is there someone in your life that there's this cord that's connected to, that if I don't do it right, if I don't meet this standard, it's going to affect them? So I want you to imagine, if there's someone that comes to mind, I want you to imagine the cord that is between you. And I usually visualize this big round, just a cord. It's like a, almost like a big tube that goes under the ground, is the way I see it. But I see it connected from me to the person. And then I want you to imagine that you're bringing some white light into it and you're washing this cord of energy. Okay. That's dysfunction. When you're racing and you're performing, that's dysfunction. So I want you to imagine you're cleaning the cord. And if there's more than one, you can have them all cleaning at the same time, to where they're transparent, where they're clear. And then I want you to imagine cutting the cord and sending the energy back to that person. It may even go back to an old teacher. It may go back to a parent. It may go back to a boss. So you can clear out even some of that old energy that might still be there. So again, seeing the cord, if there's anything there, let's clear it. Seeing a white light come into it, sending that light up and down the cord so that it's transmuting the energy to where the cord is transparent. And we're going to cut it. Just imagine putting your hand over it and cutting it, and then sending that energy, that's that person's, back to them, and you coming back into your space. Breathing into this. Really shifting the energy here of getting you off of that hamster wheel and that standard that you've set in your mind of racing. Now, I want to invite you to look at the little kid inside of you and say, you have my permission to stop. You have my permission to stop. How does that feel? How does that little kid feel? You have my permission to stop. And as you say that, I want you to just feel the energy of love and peace and balance flooding in, because you have forgiven yourself of that standard and you are taking back the power of your life. You're accepting yourself. You're being in this state of peace and balance because you are saying to this little kid, I give you permission to stop. Imagine that child is crawling up on your lap and you're holding her. And tell her you love her. Tell her that she doesn't have to race. And if you're feeling any emotion with this, that's cool. You're recognizing that, yeah, I can breathe. I don't have to race. I can just be in this moment. And now, as you run this energy of peace and balance and connectedness and being present that's coming through your body, what does that look like for you? So you've had this mindset of racing. And when you slow it down and you come to present, how is your day going to shift? What are you ready to create with that now? With this new mindset, what is it that you want your days to look like now? So I want you to take a moment and visualize that. What does it look like for you? And what's the feeling? Is it celebration? Is it joy? Is it awe and wonder? Just like my little daughter when she was that little kid looking at the water, is it like seeing everything with the eyes of wonder? What is it for you that you're seeing and you're feeling? Feel that feeling and turn up the volume to 100% and just say, yes, I give myself permission to lead my life this way. And feel that energy moving to your toes, to your fingertips, to the top of your head. I mean, feeling your whole being all the way into your aura, feeling really strong in this, feeling the energy going down below your feet and into the roots. Think of it as a tree root that is going down into the center of the earth, that you are grounded in this. See, when you're racing, you're disconnecting from God. You're disconnecting from love. You're disconnecting from this beautiful vibrational energy of unconditional love. When you're racing, you are in a state of lack. But when you say yes, you're coming back and you're living in a state of trust. You're in a state of connection. You're in a high vibration. So miracles can show up for you. So you can attract similar energy. So this is where you want to be. So saying yes to it some more, I want you to feel the feeling, turn up the volume a little bit more, feel the feeling in every cell of your body, in your whole aura, all the way down into that grounding, into those roots, and say yes to it. Let's breathe into this. And if you want to create a mantra for this right now, you can say something like, I am so grateful that I am on divine timing and that I am present with childlike wonder. Now I just threw that out there. So you can create whatever you want, but look, it just came to me like, I am so grateful that I am on divine timing and I am present with childlike wonder. Create whatever feels right for you. Feel the feeling as you're saying it, saying your mantra. Feeling yourself smile as you're saying this, feeling the energy. Really want you to say yes to it. When you start smiling, it's like everything changes in your whole mindset. So as you can see, if you're watching me, or you maybe even hear it in my voice, I'm smiling as I'm saying my mantra, and I'm feeling the feeling. It's if you're saying yes to it. You are creating it right now. You're co-creating. So feel that feeling, feel the smile, feel your energy awakening to this. Let's take another breath in and release. Let's take another deep breath and release. And when you're ready, you can come back into this space. I want to share something with you. And I know if some of you have heard my story, then you've probably heard this. But when I was in college, I was on that race. I was on that hamster wheel. And in my second semester of my sophomore year, I left school because something just washed over me when I said I hated school. And a friend said, well, don't go. And I said, I had to. And he goes, says who? And it was like, whoa, says who? And it was when I stepped off of that hamster wheel in that moment and I quit racing and I quit competing with everyone around me, trying to be the best in school, that I got present, I got connected. And it was just a month or so later that I ran into a former Miss Arkansas. She invited me into the Miss Arkansas pageant. And 2 weeks later, no, I went into Miss Arkansas, and 2 weeks later left for Miss USA. And 2 weeks after that won. It was like boom, 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 boom. The beauty of when you are saying no more to the craziness, to the societal madness that we're all living on, and you say, I'm breaking the cycle. I'm going to be this woman leader of love. I'm going to be the example for others, instead of racing to win and racing to not be judged. and meeting some standard. Instead, you're saying, I am moving into alignment. That's when miracles show up. Okay, that's when the miracles show up. So you just gave yourself permission to move into that space. So I really want to invite you to get grounded in that. When you find yourself racing each day, like, I got to go do this, I got to go do that, go, whoa, no, I don't do the hamster wheel anymore. I don't do the race. I do love. I do love. So let's open up for some questions you can ask about today's meditation. If something came up for you, if you have a aha you want to share, or if there's something else going on in your life and you'd like some support, I would love to help you. So if you're on the Zoom call, the way you raise your hand is, you'll see at the bottom, if you're on your computer, there's a little face and it says reactions. You can click on that and it allows you to raise it'll have a thing that says raise your hand. And you can click on it, and then I will see hands popping up. Let's see if anybody is coming up. Not seeing anybody so far. Takes great courage to do this. I know that. So does anyone want to be the courageous person and raise their hand? Let's see. If you are having issues, because I know sometimes people have issues about raising their hands. Let me see. Okay. Well, nobody's raising your hand. So I want to invite you right now to just think about if there's anything that you're wanting to say, but you're not saying it. If there is anything, a fear that's coming up for you about sharing your heart. As women leaders of love, our whole mission is to get courageous with our voices. Somebody just raised their hand. Okay, so Ellen, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and you do that with the little mic down in the bottom. Are you there?
Yes.
Hi. Why am I not seeing you on my screen? Oh, there you are. Okay, your camera's not on. That's okay. So how can I help? And thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'm wondering if a lot of this isn't self-inflicted. The messages that go on in our heads, and that we have to be this and we have to be that for everyone else. Do you think that a lot of it is self-inflicted?
Absolutely. But what I would say to you is that as children, your brain up until around 7 years old is like a sponge. So you're watching your parents, you're watching teachers, you're watching your peers and grandma and grandpa and all these people around you. So if they're in lack, if they have these rules to live by, then we take those rules on and our brain starts wiring that way. Okay. And so a lot of times it will wire us into the fight or flight mode, into the amygdala, which is the back of the brain. Our goal through this work is where we're rewiring our brain, because there's a thing called neuroplasticity that you can rewire your brain and you move into your prefrontal cortex, which keeps you in a greater state of peace. So yes, is some of it self-inflicted? Yes, because we learned it as children. And then as adults, we continue the habit. Okay. Mm-hmm. We've watched it and we continue it and we take it on as truth. And then it gets so buried inside of us that we don't even understand that we're doing it, right? We're just like, well, this is the way life is and nothing's going to ever change. No, that's not the truth. It can change when you make a decision to change. Like today, we went in and we're recognizing, okay, there's a belief here. There's something, so that belief was probably buried in your subconscious mind, which runs about 95% of your life. So if it's buried, we don't even know it's there. Okay. So this is why it's so important when we commit to healing as women leaders of love, when we're really committed to raising our worthiness, to owning our worth, that we start paying attention to our outer world. We pay attention to our reactions. We pay attention to how we're feeling. And if those feelings are not joyful and passionate and playful, then there's something going on inside of us that's being called to be looked at. Because I can tell you, I was the worst at inflicting pain upon myself. Okay. I was a master. A master at self-judgment, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember there was this, I was working with this guy. He was a spiritual teacher. This was back in the 90s. He was also an astrophysicist. And he had created these mandalas, and they had these bullseyes. It looked like a bullseye. I think it was 7 or 9 rings, and each ring was either yellow, green, red, or blue, and they had symbols. Well, I had mine done, and it was all yellow. And I'm like, well, it's not very pretty. You know, what's wrong with this? Well, mine was all mental. Okay. So he'd said he'd never seen one like this.
And what did it mean?
It meant that I was totally in the mental, that I was always thinking, but that as I healed, I was moving in creativity and spiritual. So it was this great opportunity for a tremendous growth, but I had a lot of work to do. Okay. And that's why he said, he says, I've never seen one like this. I was so mental. I mean, you just have no idea. It was like, don't live in my head. You don't want to go here. And so this is why, you know, I've been on this journey, because I was inflicting so much pain and suffering on myself. And yes, a lot of it I learned from watching my family, but at the same time, I built on it. Okay. I built on the lack in my mindset. And thankfully, I had a therapist say, you need to get into meditation because you're wound so tightly. And then that's how I ended up on this healing journey, right? Is I went into a healing school and took meditation classes, and then my whole world opened up. So I started learning the power of our thoughts that create feelings, and then our feelings create a vibration, and that vibration goes out into the world, and then we attract things to us that match the vibration. So when I was judging myself and feeling like, well, I don't belong and I don't fit here, what happened? That's what was mirrored back to me into my outer world in so many different ways. So as I learned how the power of the mind works, that's when I made it my sole mission to go in and clean up my mind. And let me tell you, it works. It works because I'm a person who, as I said, I was jealous all the time. I was a control freak. I was always in emotional lack. I mean, just crazy, dark, 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 dark. Thought at times about why don't I just end it here? It's too hard. You know, I mean, we can all relate, right?
Yes.
But through this healing of really owning my worth, of loving myself, of choosing unconditional love, and forgiving myself of these standards that I had, have I found peace? I mean, I think you guys can see it on my face, you know, that I have a lot of peace and joy and passion now, where used to I did not. I mean, I had this kindness to me, but boy, you just rubbed me the wrong way, and it was like, "Rawr!" And I still have those moments. I'm human, but the difference between then and now is vast. I actually have a dear friend who I met in Tahiti when my now 30-year-old daughter, I was pregnant with her. And this friend, Barb, she's walked this path with me. She lives in Calgary, but we're like sisters. She says, if people that know you now saw you back then, they would not know that it was the same person. That's how dramatic it's been. Okay.
Wow.
And it's simply because I committed to saying to stop inflicting pain on myself.
And you're going to change things.
Yeah. I mean, we have the power to change, you guys.
I believe that.
Yeah. You know, and when Ellen, when you ask that question, I think it's so brilliant, because you're saying, you know, are we self-inflicting this? And one of the things that I recognized was that a lot of my pain was habit.
Yes.
Okay. It was habit.
We've been conditioned.
Yeah. It was like, oh, this is what I do. 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 And it was interesting because, you know, I had a radio show for a couple of years called Leading with Love. And this one woman came on and she was talking, one of the guests, and she was talking about your reticular activating system. And she said, it's kind of like having blinders on. So for instance, if you're going to go buy a car and you want a white Jeep, all of a sudden you start seeing white Jeeps everywhere, right? Because that's the reticular activating system. It's looking for that thing. Well, how often do we do that? Well, I don't belong. So that's what we see. Instead of seeing that people are over here going, oh, why don't you come over here and join us? All we can see is nobody in front of me is asking me to join them, right? That's the reticular activating system. It's just seeing, it's got these glasses on. I think of it as horse blinders. And so we can't see the whole picture. And that to me is the habit. That to me is, oh, this is what it's been my whole life. It's never going to change. But that's baloney, because when you make a decision to heal, when you make a decision to love yourself, when you make a decision to really pay attention to your feelings and allow them to guide you to the beliefs that are causing your pain and suffering, those beliefs are not the truth. And you release the belief, and then you ask, what is my truth? What is, what is it? Who am I? And then you ask, what is it that I need to do to love myself into this each day? As you do that, you are rewiring your mind. You're raising your worthiness quotient. And so that is, I know that I've walked this path because this is why I teach this, because I get it. I get what it feels like when you feel like it's never going to change. But I can tell you, I'm a living example that you can. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask?
No, I don't think so. You answered that real well. And it's really not anything I didn't know. And it really takes a concerted effort to change, but there has to be an awareness first.
Yeah, and I believe that's 95% of it. I don't know, Ellen, if you've checked out my worthiness quotient course, but there's 18 meditations in it that I go really to the core of things where we judge ourselves and where we're really hard on ourselves to shift the vibration so that it's like the foundation of 20 years of watching this and doing this. If you guys want to check it out, it's just terribritt.com/worthy. If you decide you want to do it, put in the coupon code CROWN and you'll get some $50 off. So it's very low priced, but it's something that the people that have been doing it, we just put this out in the last so many months, the digital program, they've really been seeing changes. So it might be something that if you're really ready to go deep, that it might help you in doing that in an inexpensive way and on your own time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to lower your hand, and if you will mute yourself. Okay, I'm going to pull up Susan Ray. Susan, will you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
Introduced to you last week, and I thought, oh my goodness, she's just speaking my language. Everything from referring to yourself as the performer and blaming others whenever you just realized that you weren't giving yourself permission for, wanting things to be the way you want them to be. And then also in the death of your first husband, Terri. And I'm so sorry. I am a widow too. And in that marriage of, 19 years, I was in relationship with him for over 20. He just filled me up with so much unconditional love. And, at times that I couldn't even love myself. It was just so lovely to live in the light of that, never having that before. And so after he died, I just really regressed to a lot of my early childhood patterns. It would show up in relationship, fear of abandonment, and I never even realized that it was lack of self-love until, and I've heard of it. It feels like I've been on a healing journey my whole life, right? Very inquisitive and reflective. Anyway, I took this course almost a year ago, thinking that it was going to help me launch a new career path for myself. And it looked at all the different areas of your life. And I realized that I needed to start at the foundation and to love myself. So I've been on this for the last year and making progress. It's a lot of patience, a lot of kindness, a lot of, like your topic today, self-forgiveness. It's easier whenever you understand that it was, a lot of the people pleasing and the abandoning yourself is because that's the way you got attention when you were a child. Your accomplishments, you got praise. And whenever I was emotional or unruly, I was sent away in isolation. So it's just nice having that understanding. Well, anyway, I just want to say that I've gotten to the point where I came to a second interview for a job recently, and they were going to split this position into two different employees because I did not want to work full time. And in the second interview, they said that they couldn't find another one and they were wondering if I could work longer. And I sat in that moment. It took me a pause. And I actually, what came out of my mouth was I was going to have to think about it, because I really hate disappointing people, because it makes me feel bad about myself, right? It's about self-worth. And it was actually a powerful moment whenever I said, no, I really, if it's 10 or 12-hour days, I really only see myself working twice a week. So I don't think I'm going to get the position, but that I just have to be in the celebration of something else is coming. And it's like your meditation today was just very inspirational, just visualizing that life that I want for myself and that I know I'm worthy of.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for listening to that. I do have a question, Terri. So I am mostly triggered whenever I go back home. I have had a challenging relationship with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I have gently, over the last year, I've only seen her a few times, have tried to like set a boundary and, kind of avoid the conflict. And I mean, I've actually said certain things to her, but she's just not in a place of receiving or trying to be aware in any way. So I'm getting ready to head home, Terri, and I'm just wondering, do you have any words of wisdom? Like, for example, the last time she said something so hurtful to me that I was basically just silenced. I just didn't even know how to respond. And, on my way home, I like do a lot of processing. I've got an 8.5-hour drive back where I live here, which is just north of you. I live in the mountains of North Carolina now. I love, love, love. But, I kind of thought, if she does that again, I'm going to put my hand on my chest and I'm going to just say, Mom, that doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So she can maybe come into her heart space and she can see that she hurts me, and you can see it still, it just is so bad. And I love her. And, the suffering comes from wanting a different relationship than what we have. But right now, I just want to do everything in my power to take care of myself whenever I do see her, and not abandon myself and fill myself up with what I need.
Good. And that is so powerful. I'll tell you what I used to do when I was really struggling with my mother, and I'd be in that energy and all of a sudden I'd get triggered. I'd go into the bathroom. I would shut the door and sit on the toilet, but because there was no other place to sit, but I'd sit there and I'd start running energy. I would drain, I'd clear the cord, just really visualizing the cord. I'd pull up that little girl inside of me, because she's the one who's reacting. Okay. Your inner child is the one who's reacting. So in those moments when your mother is being mean and your inner child's like this, what you're saying is exactly what you want to do. Is you want to be the parent to that little kid. You can give thanks to your mother and say, thank you for showing me how I want to be. Not, I don't want to be like you've been. I want to be loving and kind to myself. And what do you do for work? Do you work?
Currently, I am training as a grief mentor and a relationship coach, actually. So
Perfect. Okay. So I knew this had something to do with your purpose. Okay. So you think about our mothers as they're the ones who are supposed to nurture us, right? But when they're not nurturing, it can be really hard on us. When you're looking at grief, the counseling that you're going to be doing and the relationship stuff, we are often looking for other people to do that for us, right? To fill us up. And it's even why I was going to tell you about when your husband left and you said you started going back down. He was an example of how you should love yourself. Okay. When he left, he was saying, okay, now it's your turn. I've been loving you,
yes,
and now you're right. Okay. So if you can see your mother as in spiritual agreement, okay, she's played her part. You came in choosing her as your mother so that you could step on your life mission. A lot of your grief comes with not feeling nurtured and loved by your mother. Think about how that affects relationships. Think about how that affects grief, right? Is that we want someone to fill us up, and then all of a sudden we feel abandoned, and there's the grief, the relationship falls apart. You're here, you're going to help people see that no, your relationship with yourself is what starts first, right? Your grief is, are you abandoning yourself? Are you loving yourself, right? So you're, look at everything that you've learned through all of this, right? So if it were me, I would be going in there going, okay, mama, what kind of gift do you have for me this time? Okay. Think about the empowerment in that, instead of walking into the relationship of, or going back to visit, going, oh God, what is she going to do now? How do I, I'm in fear. I'd be like, come on, bring it on. You know, if you've got something and I get triggered, I know there's a gift, because there's something that I'm going to shift. I'm going to go into that bathroom. I'm going to the bedroom. I'm going to look at that little kid inside of me and say, what's the belief you bought into that's not the truth? What is she triggering for you? So I can then go help my clients. Does that feel more empowering?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In preparation, I've been writing down good memories and appreciation of her in my childhood. And in the beginning, it was like going down this really dark, tight, narrow hallway, like just really having to strain. I mean, I don't remember sitting on her lap. I think the only time I really felt affection from her was whenever I was sick, which is very possible why I was so sick all the time as a child. You know, so it's just really enlightening, and I feel the shift, but I also know that it'd be like I'm rising, I'm shifting, and then there it is, and then it just feels like, you know, an interaction with her just kind of takes me down a couple, and I just can't endure many more of those. I just can't.
The little kid inside of you saying that.
Okay.
Think of yourself as the woman leader of love, and that you've got that little kid, like when you're walking in the door, you have her by the hand, or you put her on your hip and you say, I got you, baby. We're going to do this together. And another thing that you can do, I love this tool, and I really see that it makes a difference, is visualize putting a pink blanket of love around your mother.
Yes, I
Right?
love that.
Energetic blanket of love. And when you see, because one of the things that helps me is when I see someone acting mean or whatever, I see them as a little kid. Okay. Your mom is really, really wounded. And so her wounds come out at you. So if you can see her not as your mother, but as this child who's extremely wounded, and she's lashing out, it's almost like she's throwing a temper tantrum when she does. So now you have become the adult in the room. You've got her inner child over here, and your inner child is right here next to you. It's just like you would do if you had a child and they were being bullied at school, right? You'd say, well, one, we need to take care of this because bullying is not cool. But you'd probably say, I wonder what's going on in that kid's life who's being the bully. Because usually the bully is being bullied, right? So your mother in her own way is bullying you because there's something that happened in her past. So if you can be that adult woman leader of love, being the divine parent to your inner child and seeing your mother as very wounded, that's going to take a lot of that fuse. It's just going to go, it's going to just squish it out, because you don't have to meet her like this. Instead, you're up here and seeing with the eyes of God. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I've just been preparing myself, like, is there a time where the boundary is really that I just don't want contact, which is heartbreaking. But, you know, just to kind of give you a little bit more, is my dad died 4 months before my husband died. And I felt like my mom still expected me to care for her and be there for her. And I mean, my husband, you know, I was only 44. Our children were 16 and 17. We had a business. I mean, there was nothing else that I could do, you know, and there's still projected blame that I feel coming from her. And just more so since I've decided to move from Indiana down here to North Carolina, which was all about trying to live again. You know, I needed to do this for myself. But, you know, I don't want to make that cut and that boundary. Like, I just don't.
One of the things that I will say to you is that when our parents have pain and they don't heal it, as children, we take on the belief, I am to blame for my mother's pain. Okay, I'm to blame for my dad's pain, whoever it is that you took that on for. So you took on a belief as a child, I am to blame for my mother's pain. So now when she is lashing out at you, you get triggered because there's something inside of you that says, what did I do wrong? I can't take this anymore. She's beating me up. But you've done nothing, but you're living as if you have done something. And so when your dad died and then your husband died and you needed to take care of yourself, that little kid inside of you is still feeling, I'm to blame for my mother's pain and I need to make it okay. Okay. The best thing you could do is to get really authentic and stand in your truth with your mother and give her her crap back. And I don't mean like lashing out. I mean, just like, Mom, I'm sorry you're hurting. I can see you're lashing out at me, but I don't deserve this from you. And I would really encourage you to look at what's hurting inside of you that wants to put it on me. Okay. Hand the responsibility back to her. She is a wounded child who never learned to take care of herself. Okay. You are not responsible, but you can hand it back to her. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. I was just going to jokingly ask if you want to come with me. Thank you so much.
You know, that she's wounded, but you also had a spiritual agreement to come in and walk through this. So her wounds, if they trigger you, is an opportunity for you to go deep into loving yourself, being a woman leader of love, being a divine parent to your inner child, knowing that if you're reacting, your inner child is who is hurting, and let it be an opportunity and a gift to go within and say, what is the belief I bought into? And let go of that belief. And I can tell you, it's a big one when we believe as children that we're to blame for our parents' pain, which happens all the time, right? I mean, how many times do you hear where parents divorce and then the kid believes at 5 years old that somehow mom and daddy split because I was the problem? I mean, that happens all the time. And this is what we do. And I've shared this with you guys that I heard when my mother had her stroke. I was doing a healing on her. I heard in my ear, you're not to blame for your mother's pain. And I went, what? It was like, I heard it again. You're not to blame for your mother's pain. It was like, oh my God, I've been doing this my whole life. I felt like I was to blame for her pain. I've been trying to make it okay. And not only did it work with her, do it with her, but I did it with everybody else. Right? It's I'm the problem. I'm the bad person. We were talking about that mind stuff a little bit. I'm the bad person. I mean, how many times we do this? And then as an adult, we're thinking, well, what did I do? You know, you did nothing. You just wired into your brain that you were the problem and you're not. So that's where you start having those conversations with your inner child and saying, you're not the problem, honey. She's in lack. I love you. I'm here with you and I'm not going to abandon you. And just by doing that, you're going to build so that she doesn't trigger you as much anymore.
Thank you so much, Terri. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking and thank you for being here. When do you leave?
Next week, a week from tomorrow.
Oh, well, we have another session next week. So if you want to come,
I'm there. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you will mute yourself, that would be great. And I am going to lower your hand. And it's actually 3, but I will go ahead and take Brenda. Brenda, if you want to unmute yourself, it just says Brenda's iPad.
Actually, hey, Terri, it's Brenda. I couldn't put my camera on because I'm at my office and I have clients that come in every now and then. It's Brenda Higgins.
I got that. I recognize your voice. How are you?
Doing good. How about you? I actually, some of the things that you had already talked to Susan about is probably a few of the things that I have been dealing with again. And of course, you know, my mother, which I'd already shared with you years ago, or not years ago, but during our women's leader love meetings. And, you know, I still, at times, she crosses my boundaries quite a bit and still says a lot of hurtful things. But some of the answers that you had given to Susan has really reiterated back into me again. But recently, I guess recently I have really been surrounded by strong personalities. And these personalities, as my friend told me, she said, they're like ducks just nibbling away at me, you know? And I guess I didn't even realize that it was stressing me because I felt like I had this under control. But my empath, I'm such an empath, and I have taken on these feelings and these emotions of these people to where I think I got it under control, but apparently I don't. So now it's starting to come out, and my energy is coming out in various ways. And a lot of it's not always positive. I feel stressed, and then I'm mad because I'm stressed. So then I go into the meditation, or I'll go back into some of the previous meditations that you shared. And I think, okay, I got it. But now I want to understand why I cannot seem to get that under control. You know, my boundaries, to not allow my boundaries to be crossed all the time. You know, I just allow these strong personalities. If I could deal with them one-on-one, I think I can deal with it. But I'll have 3 of them all at the same time.
No.
Oh God, you know, I'm just to the point of, I just want to throw my hands up and just walk away, and that's that, you know. So
Energetically, what happens is it feels like you're here, and it feels like this gray cloud that comes over, and it feels like it's going to suffocate you.
yes,
Is that
yeah,
like suffocation?
it's smothering out.
Yeah,
You
you're smothering your light.
Yeah, grown by leaps and bounds since, you know, all of the meetings that we had from the beginning. But then now I feel like I'm taking steps backwards, and I'm having a hard time getting my steps to go forward.
You know, the way I look at this, I don't think you're going backwards at all. I think that you got to a vibrational state where you can handle, where you're ready to handle this kind of energy. It's like you've been building and building and building, and now you're like, oh, okay. You haven't stepped backward. You've stepped at a real huge growth place, which is right, because we're going to go up and down where we're growing. So
Mhm.
I see this energy coming over you, and it feels like it's suffocating you. What it feels like is that you're taking your light and you're dimming it. It feels like it goes back to childhood, of when there was someone very suffocating over you, and it might have been your mother. But it just feels like that you learned it. This feels like habit. You know how we were talking about earlier about habit? This feels like that if somebody is really strong, and listen, look at it this way: it's taking 3 people to get to you. Okay, it's not 1, it's 3. So think about how powerful you are, chickadee. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, wow, it's taken 3 people to finally get to me. So that's huge. I mean, celebrate that, going, wow, okay, 3. This is amazing. So think of it as, when this energy's coming, it feels like it's going like this, but what it feels like is that you're turning down your light so that it's out of habit. It's like a shrinking feeling. And the exercise that I see you doing, it's almost like a mental thing of when you recognize that you're shrinking, instead of going, I need to control them, because you can't control what people are doing, right? All you need to do is turn up your light. So it's almost like visualizing, okay, here's the knob of my light. I realize that I've been shrinking because it's almost like a fear energy from the past.
Right.
You don't have to be in fear. So just recognize, oh, I'm going to turn up the volume here on my light. And so that now it just feeling it expanding, 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 expanding. So you're really filling up your aura, your energetic field. And now you're this big ball of light. They could try to come over, but now you're protected. So that's what it feels like. It feels like a habit. It feels like it's an old way of being as a child, where you turned it down just so there was no conflict.
Right.
But it feels like it doesn't have to be conflict. It just has to be you turning up the volume and not shrinking. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
It does. I mean, yeah, I can think of one where I think I'm keeping it under control by keeping it no conflict, when in actuality, it's really them getting their way, and I'm thinking I'm keeping the peace because I just don't want to, I just don't want to hit that button on that individual, So, but yeah, I've been feeling that way, and how it's coming out is frustration and sometimes anger. I'm like, I just don't get this, and and then I'm resentful of
Yeah.
these, and I don't want to feel that way because, you know, I can't control, like you said, how they are.
Yeah, you can't control them.
And the time I can't do that. So
What I would do is, because there's a tendency to go into victim mentality, saying they're doing this to me.
mhm,
And I would encourage you to shift the mindset to they're doing this for me.
okay.
Okay. Because you're being asked to step up into your vibration, into a higher level, into really standing in your truth, and to not turning down the volume. And again, I'm going to reiterate, it's taking 3 people to do this. Okay. So
Because
pat yourself on the back, because you've come to a vibrational state where it's taking 3 people to get you triggered.
yeah.
Okay.
One of them it didn't really want it to be triggered, but it's kind of like a new relationship. I'm trying to go. I mean, it's so fun because it's been a long time, and I felt myself being irritable with this person. I'm like, okay, he lives in Daytona. I need to come up, and I'm ready for you to go home now. I mean, but I really enjoy their company, but it was just maybe it was the combination of the other 2 individuals, and then this one's strong personality, which I knew they had one. I've known them since the 90s, so it's not like they're not a known person. And normally we get along just wonderfully. But I also felt underlying, okay, not you two. So it's time for you to go home, which I didn't verbally say that, but I was feeling that. And then I just thought, why? I mean, I really want to move forward into a relationship, but I don't want to sabotage it either. And I don't want to feel these thoughts that I was,
I get
thinking.
it. I get it. So I would just really focus on, this is old habit. I'm turning down my volume, and I need to let my volume be as it is, be in the truth of who I am, which is this really big dynamic light.
Right.
So don't go into old habits of squashing your light, because that's what's going to create resentment. That's
Right.
frustration, right? So instead of thinking, not only are you trying to avoid conflict, you're trying to not even allow yourself to have a relationship, because there's going to be conflict at times, but you think of it as is happening for me to learn about myself rather than to me, and being in victim mentality. So you've got to get from that victim mindset to that empowered mindset of, oh, what are you showing me? Just like what I was saying earlier, about going to see her mom, and it's like, what is she showing me about what am I ready to go deeper in? I mean, that to me has been probably one of the number one things in my life, is shifting from that mentality to seeing everything as a gift, even though it might feel like crap when it's happening, but going into gratitude immediately and saying, thank you. This feels like crap. I'm acknowledging it feels like crap, but I know there's something happening to take me to the next level. And when you can do that and see these 3 people as that, I really get that it's just a habit for you to shrink, and it's time to not shrink.
All right. Gotcha. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I kind of, you kind of answered some of my question when you said that you went back and you realized it was habit. And I know it's habit.
Yeah, it is. And isn't that cool? Isn't that cool when we can recognize this is just a habit? All right.
Right.
I mean, you took my course. I mean, you were deep into it. She took when I was teaching the worthiness quotient live here locally and testing it out. She was taking it, you guys, if you're wondering what we're talking about. But she took the worthiness quotient course, and you were like boom, boom, boom. You know, I mean, you remember how much you were growing and expanding. So you have the tools.
Right.
You have the tools. Now it's recognizing, oh, I just need to go back to my tools. I need to not dim my light. I need to turn the volume up on my light. And you know, if there's conflict, I'm going to see it as a gift to go deeper into myself, to give myself a voice. This feels like I'm looking at your energy right here in your throat chakra. There feels like a little bit of dark energy here, like a plug of energy. And it feels like it's just you giving yourself permission to have a voice, even in conflict. The conflict comes when you feel like you can't have the voice. Okay, and then you're stuffing it, and then you're like, I don't want it to be uncomfortable. When you give yourself a voice to speak from truth, it doesn't have to be angry. It doesn't have to be judgmental. It can just come from a space of truth. And now it doesn't have to be a battle here. It's I'm giving myself a voice. I'm coming from my truth. I'm going to speak from I feel, not you're doing this to me, is I feel. Okay, so now it's coming from a space of intimacy, and you're coming into this place of I feel. Now you're coming from a high vibrational state. So there's nothing for that person to fight against. They may try to.
Right. Okay.
You're not meeting them in that vibration. There's nothing for them to battle. They're just battling with themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's right. I mean, I just needed, I guess, a little refresher of, yes, I know, and I recognize
Pressures.
well, I appreciate it so very much. I really do.
Thank you for being here. I'm glad you popped in. Okay, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself, and I'm going to lower your hand. So let's just wrap this up, you guys. Let's just close our eyes for a moment and give thanks for this healing today. And I just want to give thanks to all of you who've asked questions and who are so courageous to share your stories with us. I want you to imagine, for those who asked questions and got some information on how they want to walk forward, to really visualize yourself doing that. For those of you who didn't ask questions but maybe had information that hit you hard, this reminds me of my own life. Visualize how you want it to be different and put that feeling to it. Remember, the feelings are key. So just visualize it and feel it, feeling as if there's joy now, there's healing, there's however you want the situation in your life to change, seeing it as if it's already done. You don't have to know the how, just know how you want it to feel. So feel that feeling, giving thanks. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this healing. Thank you for the guidance. Thank you for the love. Breathing in and releasing. One more time, breathe in and release. Thank you all so much for being here. We will see you next week, same time, same place. And again, if you are watching Facebook and you want to be in these calls on the Zoom part, go to terribritt.com/leaders. You'll get my Worthiness Quotient Breakthrough Bundle for free. And you will also be put into our mailing list to get the Zoom link every Wednesday morning so you can join us for these calls. Thank you so much. And y'all have a good week. Bye-bye.